What's going on, guys? So look, I've got a great one lined up for you today. And I've said this in the past a few times, but one of the coolest things about having a YouTube channel with an amazing audience like you is that I get introduced to brands, products, and people that I otherwise wouldn't be able to, right? And it's a great way for me personally to expand my understanding, my knowledge, and then be able to introduce those things and those people to you in a very informative and experienced manner. In today's video, I'm sitting down with Andrew Ferebee for a very interesting discussion on a bunch of different topics like building confidence, risk, danger, death, asking for help, and also making the most of the time you have left. Andrew is a 3-time best-selling author, founder of Project Grounded Man, and also the founder of Knowledge for Men, where he's interviewed over 400 experts on business and self-improvement for his podcast. He's also helped thousands of men through his coaching program. Guys, this is not a sponsored video, but on a personal note, I'm in an interesting place in my life right now and I feel like I have a lot to offer, so I'm preparing to launch a course of my own. So it was really great to be able to actually sit down with someone who's been there, done that, and wrote the book. I'll be releasing more details in the coming weeks, but gentlemen, I really hope you watch this and get something out of this discussion. Now, because this video is somewhat long, I'm going to go ahead and leave some time codes down below in the description so you can sort of jump around to some of the different topics and then come back and watch more when you have some more time. Just make sure you don't miss anything. Guys, thank you in advance, and I hope you guys know how much I love and appreciate each and every one of you. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. All right, guys, today we have a very special treat for you. I'm in San Diego and I'm with Andrew Ferebee, 3-time best-selling author, founder of Knowledge for Men, and then creator of, what was the course? I can't remember the last course.
Project Grounded Man.
Project Grounded Man.
Yeah.
So I connected with Andrew about a year ago when I did a promotion for his latest book, The Dating Playbook for Men. Get the book. There we go. There's the book right here. You can find this on Amazon. Really, really nice, interesting book. And it's more, don't think of it so much as like a dating book. It's more of a self-improvement, be more interesting, have more confidence type of a manual, I would say, at least in my opinion. I read it cover to cover last year when I did the promotion because I wanted to make sure what I was promoting was actually a quality piece of material, and it was, right? I was a little skeptical by the name. Don't let the name fool you. This is actually a really interesting book. Andrew, give me, if you can, just a little summary of sort of what you're all about and what you're up to currently.
Yeah, I'm up to quite a few things. This book here, this is how we met, The Dating Playbook for Men, and I think the title, as you say, it could be off-putting, but I think it just captures people's attention. It is a playbook for men, but it's not necessarily about like do this, do that with women, but it's about being a grounded man who's on his path and purpose and how you could be the type of man who's going to attract the woman of his dreams, that's going to attract the queen in his life, a queen who is a strong, supportive woman on your journey and support you through your vision. And you show up as the king. So I think it's really a personal development book for men in disguise as a dating book. However, the end result of it is I want you to have a really awesome relationship and in between some really fun experiences as well. And for guys who are in relationships, I would say it still applies to you because you're never supposed to stop dating your girlfriend or partner. That is an ongoing thing that keeps the intimacy and the romance alive.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
For sure.
So basically in this book, it's broken down into 7 steps, and the questions that I kept getting most asked. So if I look at the first chapter is the grounded man. And the way I came up with that is when I was interviewing, so on my podcast, Knowledge for Men, I've interviewed over 400 experts. I've also interviewed many, many, many women on my podcast and also many different women just in my own personal life. I'm always curious about women and why they go for certain men or why they act in certain ways, what drives their behaviors. And I've just been fascinated with the whole psychology part of dating from a woman's standpoint, because when you understand her standpoint, I think it really helps you understand why she does what she does.
That's a great point. I've made videos and created some content that is geared from the woman's perspective, what they like, what they don't like, and it's valuable. It's incredibly valuable, whether or not you're single and dating, or even if you're still married. Obviously, by this point, you know what your spouse likes and doesn't like. But it's always nice to kind of get an outside perspective from another female's point of view. So that's really fantastic.
Absolutely. But the questions that I kept getting the most from men was on the first chapter on the grounded man. It was so interesting and appealing to man, especially when I first wrote this book in 2015. And then since then I did an update, which is when we connected, was the relaunch of version 2 of the Dating Playbook for Men. And guys just kept asking me about this grounded man sort of archetype that I created. And women, I noticed that when they would, when I would ask and interview the women that I shared about earlier, they would bring up the word grounded, or a man who's on his path, a man who's on a journey, a man who's moving forward. And that was really where the grounded man came from, was from in women. And then just like, okay, well, women keep using this word. I think it's really cool. So I started using it as like a brand, stay grounded. That's been sort of my motto for men, because I've learned that like in most situations, the answer is always for men, well, stay grounded. Whether it's you're in a time of chaos, stay grounded. Whether you're going through a breakup, stay grounded. Whether your business is collapsing or you're having so much success that you can lose your mind because you can go out and start buying all these things. You can go out and start partying too excessively. Like staying grounded with your path and purpose will always lead you to the best outcome that you could possibly make in that time. I created this community and a home for men to learn how to be a grounded man and show up more powerfully in their lives, in their social lives, which is something I feel is really neglected, is men not surrounding themselves with other grounded men or other men of like-minded nature on their journey. Men are often doing the journey alone, I found, and it can be very difficult to be a man who's trying to improve and to not have other men to fall on for support and also to support them, while also using this to propel a dating life or your relationship, is what Project Grounded Man is, in a nutshell.
Very good. We're going to cover a lot of ground, so hang tight, you guys, because we're gonna cover several different topics. But a couple of topics that I took away from this book, and I wrote them down, and they're quotes from the book that I thought resonated with me, and I hope will resonate with you. And it was this: it's critical that as you age, you make decisions instead of sitting in indecision for too long. The more decisions you make, the greater forward momentum you will have. You don't need to be rich to come alive. You simply need to make the decision that you're going to have fun and be fully engaged in every day of your life. When you know who you are, what you offer, and what you stand for, and are willing to live your life by those values, you show up more powerfully in the world. So this is powerful shit, man. So can you expand on those points, if you will?
Yeah, I think from what I've seen, I've worked with thousands of men through my online courses, through events, and through just the work that I've done. Like, people come out, I've done private events, I've had many different coaching clients, and so I've had an opportunity to see men from different stages of life. So guys come to me in their 20s as well, guys in their 30s, guys in their 40s, guys in their 50s and beyond. And so it's interesting to see the decisions that a man makes in each stage and how it would have an impact on his life 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And I find that men, or just people in general, we're really thinking about our goals, if we have them, in the next 12 months or so, or even sooner. So short-term goal thinking, not realizing the long game of life and thinking in 5, 10, 15, 20-year time spans. And then you get into your 30s and you are more established and you have more of a career, you have more responsibility, you might even be seriously dating or having kids. And then as you get older in your 40s, your kids are older, you have a lot of responsibility here. And so it's easy to fall into routine and simple routines, simply because life is hard. And a lot of the zest in life, there's a quote by Benjamin Franklin where he's like, most men, they die at 25 but aren't buried until 75. And I think very much that happens today in society, where we fall into a routine and we lose that zest for life to try new things, to explore the things, to go after a lot of the dreams that we had, and to, whether it's just hobbies, whether it's just passions, whether it's travel, whether it's just like even showing up in a more powerful way for yourself, whether it's your personality being more funny, like developing your humor, developing your confidence, developing who you are as a man, and just really exploring the world. And when we lose that, what happens is we become very, very stuck, and we can fall into like a mundane reality, and then we start losing what I would call like one of the most important parts of a man, is aliveness. And when a man loses his aliveness, what is he? When he loses his ability to show up with energy, with vibrancy, with power, with focus, with clear intention of what he's doing with his life, I feel that very much that once you lose your aliveness, you're going to lose your life, and it would be a tragedy, because that time is time that we just won't get back.
A lot of what I talk about on my channel is stepping outside your box, trying new things. Like my whole slogan, you're never too old and it's never too late to make a change in your life or try something new.
Yes.
So getting stuck in the mundane and not trying new things. And I think another thing you talk about in the book is, and it sort of ties back into how to be more confident, and how to attract high quality women, is being more interesting. How do you be more interesting? Do more interesting things. Do something that you don't normally do. Try, you had mentioned meetup.com events. And
just trying different events where you're meeting new people. One thing guys can do is remember, like at one point you had a bucket list, and is that something that we still are practicing today? Like a bucket list of these tasks, or not tasks, a bucket list of these goals and dreams and ambitions that we want to achieve before the end of our lives. And I think just having a bucket list, and even if you're just slowly moving through it in life, but like you're trying to make progress towards these things you'd really like to accomplish, whether it's traveling to a new place, whether it's swimming with sharks in a cage, whether it's riding a motorcycle from San Diego all the way to New York, whether it's like going to Europe, and if you're single, your goal is to meet 100 women or whatever it is. But just like you can start to feel this energy of like, oh wow, that sounds really cool, and you're just looking forward to it, and you're just slowly making progress on things that would make your life memorable. And if you're doing that, by default, you're going to be more alive. By default, you're going to be more attractive, and by default, you're going to have a ton of things to share. Because very often guys will ask, when they see this book, is like, well, how do you talk to women, or how, what should I say? And I'm like, I don't even really think about that. Like, I'm just sharing my life. And if your life is an adventure and your life is something that you're excited about, then she's going to get really drawn into that. And she's going to be excited simply because you're excited. It's like the law of state transference. It's like how you feel, she feels. And if you're not alive, then she won't feel alive. And I think that's one of the best gifts that you can give anyone, is the gift of aliveness. So in a way like that, like, we chase money, we chase all these things, but really just showing up powerfully and being alive is like the gift that you can give everyone around you.
So on the topic of stepping outside your comfort zone, on your website you mentioned taking risks and stepping outside of your comfort zone is essential for growth. A life without risk is no life at all. So can you talk a little bit about stepping outside your comfort zone and why that's so essential for growth?
I think for men, changing the relationship with risk, or I like to even just call it danger. And danger for me, when I view it, is really your opportunity to show up as a man and engage with that masculine energy. Danger is really like a trigger for masculine energy, because it requires it and it demands it in order to pursue the risk. And what I notice is the men who lack masculine energy are the men who stay away from danger, from risk, and live in their comfort zone. And when men do this for too long, then what happens is they become weaker over time, because they're unable to pursue the things that they really want to pursue. So if we're talking about those items on their bucket list, or if they're single, going and pursuing the women that they really want, or if they're in a relationship, having those tough conversations with their partner to that would magnify the relationship or prevent it from falling or from staggering. Or obviously in business, it is a game of risk and danger. And understanding that through our danger, through pursuing risk and by being bold, one, it brings us to the present moment. Like it instantly, like if you're like, we're by the beach right now. We're here in San Diego, and if you're surfing, there's a level of danger, there's a level of risk, there's a level of excitement. There's no way you're thinking about your taxes when you're on a wave. There's no way you're thinking about like mundane things. Like you're fully in the moment. You're fully present. If you're single and you're walking in those steps to approach the girl, each step is like danger, danger, risk. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But you're obviously not thinking about anything else. You're in that moment, and that's really important. Is, you know, I really view that those things that we really enjoy in life are really bringing us to the present moment. And so the more that we can play with that, the more we're going to be alive, because you can't be alive if you're not present, and your presence isn't felt if you're not alive. So by engaging with danger and risk, it really activates our masculine energy, and that masculine energy is felt by others, and it makes us feel good as men. And I feel that it is, especially in this age with social media, with Netflix or Hulu, or like, there's just so many ways to fall into vices and not pursue your life, not pursue the things that matter. So it's more needed than ever to engage in risk, to engage in danger. I think it's a necessity for men, not to just wake up and live in danger, but can you actually pursue the thing that you want? And I find that if you change the relationship, it really allows you to enjoy your life a lot more, because you're moving, you're making progress, and that is going to require a level of risk. I don't know any man who is living on the edge, who is exciting, who is interesting, who's alive, and even who is successful, who lived in his comfort zone. So therefore, it would suggest we should play with risk and danger and change that conversation.
So one more quote that I want to read back to you on your site, and actually I put this on Instagram just the other day and I tagged you. It was, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is where the true power comes from. So we've all heard that phrase, like knowledge is power, but can you expand a little bit on where that power comes from in knowledge, and how applying that knowledge to your life makes your life more fulfilled?
Yeah, perfect. I am the founder of Knowledge for Men. I love knowledge. I love reading. I love listening to podcasts. I love watching different YouTube channels on personal development, on growth, on entrepreneurship. And early in my career, I was just overwhelmed with knowledge and just constantly learning. And I thought that was really where I was going to find success, where I was going to find progress. And it wasn't really until I just started applying the knowledge that I would start to see results. And I think it's easy, and I really think today, because so many YouTube channels, podcasts, and even books, there's so many of them, and they're actually all really good, which is it's amazing, but it's also, you can get lost in it, is what I'm saying. I got lost in it, and you can feel good. You can feel good when you're reading a book. You can feel good when you're watching a YouTube video. You can feel like you're actually making progress, because, you're not binge watching Netflix. You're not playing video games. You're not drinking. You're not doing these things that we often associate with, like, okay, well, you're not progressing when you do those, but so I am reading, I am doing this, and this is what successful people do, so I must be doing this. And it can feel good, and I've seen and I've experienced it with many men where they actually just switched. So it's like an addiction switched from a video game or whatever, TV, or just bad habits or anything like that, to now personal development, to now growth. And you can get lost in it so much, and it can actually be really challenging for the guy who's constantly overwhelming himself with knowledge, so much so that it makes it hard to actually take action, because you have so many different conflicting pieces of advice that you're not really sure what to do, and so, oh, well, I should probably try and figure out what to do by consuming more knowledge. And then you feel like you have to know everything before, you want to mitigate every possible error and mistake before you can take action. But what's happening is time is passing and we're getting older, and nothing is tangible on the table if we're not actually taking action. And so I have found, and I've really just focused on learning enough to take that first action step, not having to know the full picture. And so just having enough knowledge to take an action, and then you'll learn so much more from your own results. Learning from other people is very powerful. I cannot stress enough on the value that mentors and different books and things like that can have on your life. However, you will learn the biggest lessons just from your own journey. It would be like 80-20. Your own journey is the lesson. Your own journey is where you're going to find progress and fulfillment. And so, and what's cool is you not only learn, but you have a result. Like you're talking about creating a course, you're talking about all these things you're working on, and through actually creating it, you're going to have the end result. And you're not only going to learn from the process, but you'll have the actual tangible thing. And so I think men should... Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, not to cut you off, but I've been to workshops and speeches and, 4-day seminars and all this stuff, and you listen to these people speak and you get all this motivation, and sometimes it can be information overload. And so you go and you spend $5,000 on a weekend getaway and you listen to all these amazing speakers, professionals in their specific arena. If you don't apply anything, it's a waste of time and it's a waste of money. And I feel like I've come home from these retreats and getaways and these talks feeling really inspired and really motivated, like I'm kicking it into high gear. And then a week goes by, and then 2 weeks go by, and then nothing happens. You don't follow up. You don't take action. So that quote from the site about knowledge is not power, applied knowledge is where the true power comes from. I think that for me resonated and hit home for me. So that was great. Thanks for expanding on that. That was good.
Absolutely.
Okay, Andrew. So I talk about confidence quite a bit on my channel, and personally, I consider myself to be a pretty confident dude in a lot of areas of my life, but also less confident in other areas. I think this is pretty standard for most guys. So to guys watching this video, what are some actionable steps guys can take to be more confident in their lives? Because it's easy to say, oh, be more confident. Just have to be more confident.
Right.
Well, that's fine in theory, but what are some actionable steps? Give me just a few things that guys can do to sort of move along their pathway of being more confident.
Yes. I feel if you can say this phrase, I feel you would be incredibly more confident in every situation, which is, I'll handle it. I'll handle it. Because if you know you can handle whatever that next thing is, whether you're about to walk in a room and you have anxiety, you're like, I can handle it. Okay, that alleviates the pressure. Whether you're going to approach a girl and you're uncertain if she's going to like you or not, I can handle it. So you're thinking about that next outcome that you're uncertain about, and that's what's creating a lack of confidence. So many of you've played sports, and at first you weren't confident, but as you developed and started to learn the sport when you were younger or currently, you became more confident because you knew that whatever was happening next, you could handle it. You knew that, okay, I know how to handle that situation, I know how to handle that situation, whether it's baseball or basketball or football, and so you just move a lot more confidently. Or even, I had trained Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for several years, but as you start to learn the moves, you start to have more experience, you become more confident in that next step. So we're dealing with uncertainty. So your ability to be certain that you can handle uncertainty would then make you more confident. That would be sort of the first step. A second could be having a path and a purpose in your life. So if you are a man without a path or a man without a purpose, a man who's not on a journey, a man who's just sort of lost, would be a leaf in the wind. You're not really on a path. You're not, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm building, this is who I am. Just saying those words I'm sure you're feeling, okay, I could see how this would build more confidence, because now you're just moving with conviction. You have stronger boundaries about what you will and won't allow into your life, because your vision is now dictating a lot of what you're accepting or not accepting, or who's a good fit and who's not a good fit. So then that would lead to the third step, which is stop trying to manage other people's expectations or impressions of you. Like, freeing yourself from other people's expectations of wanting you to be a certain way. And when you simply let go of that, because you can't control, there's no way you could possibly just make everyone like you. There's no way you can show up.
Trust me, it's not going to happen.
It's not.
And it doesn't matter. Like, it's okay for people not to like you.
Absolutely. And in a way, you want that to happen. You want to be polarizing in early interactions, especially with women, so you can quickly filter who is a good fit and who is not a good fit. When you try to get other people to like you, when you're trying and even forcing confidence on yourself, and you're trying to show up in a certain way for others, then in a way, you're not in control. They are in control. They're the ones dictating what you will and won't do. And so when we let go and accept that we cannot and should not make everyone around us like us, we should only be ourselves, which will then naturally attract people that are like-minded into our lives. And we should do that as quickly as possible. There's no value in trying to get people to like you who should not be in your life. There's no value. There's no value in that. And so this is a good thing. It frees you from trying to be perfect for the world, and instead be perfect for your own vision, your own path, your own values as a man, and live in alignment as much as you can. Because it'll be difficult if you're always putting pressure on yourself, like, oh, I didn't do this today, I didn't do that. But you can always ask this question at the end of every day, is, am I making progress? That's it. And if the answer is yes, no matter how small or big, you are winning. And I find that to be a huge confidence booster, because we can all achieve progress, all of us, no matter how old we are, no matter if we're sick, no matter if we have a disability, no matter what. We can all make progress. And what I love too is you can do it today. You can make progress today, you can make progress tomorrow, you can make progress next week, you can make progress next month. But you might not be able to become a multimillionaire today or next week or next month. And if that's, or get, be dating all these women, or fix or upgrade your relationship, whatever, but you can make progress in each of those. You can make progress in your business, you can make progress in your dating life, you can make progress in your relationship. And if you switch success to progress, like you're not actually trying to achieve the end outcome, and you replace it with progress, it's like, did action equal progress? Not did action equal massive success, which is, again, it's something you can't control. It's something that is not, it's not going to happen every time, and you're going to be very hard on yourself. And I know from coaching many men that men are very hard on themselves. They're very hard on themselves.
This is true. This is very, very true.
Very true. And we compare ourselves to other men, and this can stunt our gifts. This can stunt our path and purpose. I have many friends who are very successful, like incredibly successful, and it can be difficult to surround yourself with incredibly successful men. However, am I making progress, Andrew? Am I moving forward? And the answer is yes. And I'm like, all right, well, that's all I can do, and that's all that I can do. And learning to be done with the day, and releasing the pressure of like, did I do enough? Am I showing up as powerfully as I can? And just saying, well, did I make some progress today? Yes. And every day it's going to be yes. So if you're saying yes every time, which we can talk about momentum as well, it builds the momentum of a man. And that is the goal right there. Like, that state of momentum for men is the goal that I try and get all my clients into. Not necessarily the end outcome, which of course we want. I'm not saying neglect that, but how do we get the end outcome? By getting into a state of momentum in our lives, with our path, with our purpose, with our confidence, in our social lives, in our dating lives, in our relationships, in our careers. And this state of momentum really starts to propel into an upward spiral where you don't need alcohol. You don't need all these different substances to feel anything, or to feel alive, or to feel positive. because your life is now the drug. Your life is giving you dopamine, which is what alcohol and drugs do, is boost dopamine, makes you feel good. You don't need video games. You don't need porn. You don't need to be binge watching, because your life is now better than those substances. I could talk on and on for
No, that's awesome. The whole, forward momentum and progress on a daily basis. You can't climb a mountain without putting one foot in front of the other. And I talked about this before in another video where I got really vulnerable and really personal. It's like, you just put one foot in front of the other every single day and move forward and keep moving forward, whether there's an end goal that you can visualize or not, but there's something further on that that I think that you should be working towards, but you've got to practice and move forward every single day. And if you're not there yet, fine. Are you getting there? Are you making progress? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, then you're doing something right. So I love that you actually talked about that. That was really, really good. Thanks.
Yeah, you're as long as you're making the progress, you are winning. And so what I share with my guys is, one, grounded man, like, we want to be alive, we want to have a path. This is all good. And then releasing that pressure by just switching the definition of success to progress. Because the state of progress is one we can all reach right now. Right after you're watching this video, you can start putting yourself into a state of progress, meaning you're in control of how you're going to feel. And that state is one of aliveness. Like, you can remember, I hope it wasn't too long ago, but you can remember a time when you did, a lot of men actually come to me for that reason. They say, when I was younger, I had this, everything was just firing, my career, my dating, my hobbies, my passions. And what he's explaining to me is he was in a state of momentum. He was in a state of forward progression. And then through life that we talked about earlier, you start to fall into routines and you start losing that upward spiral and going into a downward spiral. And the problem is that men can become complacent with that for too long before they wake up and realize that, whoa, like, this is not who I am. This is not the life I want. This is not who I am. I had this level of power and vigor and masculine energy when I was younger, and I have lost that. And if we're talking about dating and relationships, if you're in a relationship, women can feel this. Women can feel when you've lost your power, you've lost your masculine energy, you're not in a state of progression. And from like a biological level, like, she is now feeling that this is a man that I'm not sure if I can trust, I'm not sure if I feel safe with, because she's feeling that if he's losing his life, how is this man able to show up and take care of me, take care of our kids? From a lot of that would be more unconscious, like, she's not sitting down journaling this out. Maybe she is. More conscious women are aware. However, when you lose your power, the whole foundation of your life starts to dwindle, and life just becomes harder. So it's an easy thing. I mean, we started with confidence, and look at where this spiraled into. And it's something we can all do, is start getting into a state of progress, start shifting the definition of success into one of momentum and progress. And it can really, really up-level every aspect of your life.
I hope you guys are getting some value out of this. We're not done yet. We've got a little bit more to talk about, but I really hope that you guys are getting some value out of this little sit-down chat with Andrew, so stick around. Okay, Andrew, so one thing that I struggle with, and I'm working on it, I'm trying to make progress every day, is we're brought up as men to, if we have a problem, sometimes we would just ignore that problem and hope it goes away. We don't want to be seen as weak. We don't want to ask for help. We don't want to hire a coach. We don't want to take a course. We can handle it. We'll get through it. But if I ignore it, it'll go away. I think there's some messages in there that can probably apply to a lot of guys, me included. So how would you address that topic or that subject of asking for help is a sign of weakness in men?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one that we're taught in our society that men can handle it, and they do is take that too far, where they say, I can handle it to the or this can become now toxic, where you are not reaching out for help because you can handle it, and that would be too extreme. Is Michael Jordan seen as weak for having a team of coaches around him for every aspect of basketball? Or different football players like Tom Brady, who has multiple different coaches around his diet, around his fitness, around his throws, around every aspect of the game. Kobe Bryant, unfortunately, we all know what happened, but every person who is great at what they do, they have a team of coaches. Every great entrepreneur had a great mentor. And so I think what is weak and unmanly and what is would be failure is not asking for help. I think just living with a struggle or living with some sort of chronic issue in your life and not addressing it and ignoring it, that would be hiding. That would actually be not going towards risk. That would not be going towards danger.
Said hiding. Dude, you struck a nerve. Keep going, sorry.
Yeah, I think when you ask for help, you're showing up. And I think the difference, though, is if you have, like, let's say you do therapy for like 10 years and you're just stuck in therapy, that would I think be, you're kind of just drowning yourself in therapy. Perhaps, I can't address every issue is unique, but getting help from someone who has the results that you want and making progress. I think coaches are very important, or if you're doing courses, or even if you're just reading a book or watching this video, for example, is you're encountering an area of your life where you're stuck and you don't want to be stuck anymore, whether it's in career, dating, relationships, your own life, whatever. Working with a coach or something to get unstuck would be the most logical thing to do so that you can reach your goal. And what is manly, if we want to talk about that, or masculine, what is strength, would be a man who can overcome challenges, regardless of how you overcame that challenge. When you're overcoming challenges, you're growing, and you're likely to reach your goal when you overcome those major hiccups in life. So all the people you admire, likely in your life, whether it's through professional sports or MMA. I know Conor McGregor won his last fight because he hired Tony Robbins. And, I can't give it all to Tony Robbins, but we know Conor was going through a lot of personal challenges. And by working with Tony, it definitely helped him get clarity to be able to get back into that state of forward progression. But most of the people that you admire likely have a team of coaches or sought out help to overcome their challenges. So it would only make sense to do the same and follow what other successful people are doing, and not try and do the journey alone, which I alluded to earlier in this conversation, where men feel like they're doing, or they not necessarily feel like, but they are doing the journey alone. And maybe we have a problem with we don't have the right people in our lives, and that's why we're not getting the help we need, because the people in our lives are not really of value to help us. So by elevating our social life, by having the right partner in our life, and if necessary, pursuing coaching as an outlet, it is incredibly a masculine thing, because you're overcoming challenges, you're overcoming hardship, you're overcoming potential failure, you're mitigating failure. So
yeah, and if you don't know how to fix it yourself, if you've been dealing with the same issue for 5-10 years, and it's like this grating thing in the back of your mind that's like always there, if you can't figure it out, someone else can, or someone else probably can. So yeah, what you said about not doing anything is hiding from the problem, or hiding. And I sort of, that triggered something for me.
What was it there that triggered? Like
it's just the fact that if you don't do anything about it, you're hiding, and that's a sign of weakness. And I thought that, like, for me anyway, I don't want to be seen as someone who's weak. I don't want to feel weakness. I don't want to feel myself as someone who's has a weakness. Especially in regards of who I am as a person and how I'm developing as a man later in life. So it struck a little chord, and it's like, I thought that was really a great way to think about not asking for help, or not getting help, or not doing anything, not reading a book, not watching videos, just like, I'll fix it someday, it'll go away someday if I just ignore it. So anyway, I thought that was
Yeah.
a great way to look at it.
Yeah, we all didn't know how to drive a car. We all didn't know the English language. Like, we all had to learn it from someone to help us get to our desired result.
Yeah.
Every great person has asked for help to get to where they are, or like people we look up to and things like that. So I think just changing that narrative around help as weakness, and instead help is just sort of expediting the journey or fast forwarding the journey so that we don't have to deal with this challenge for so long. Like, find the people who have the arrows in their back already, and then ask, how do I not get those arrows in my back too? And then they can alleviate how much stress and pressure and how much work and also time. That's just a huge factor there, is by working with someone who knows how to help you, you're saving yourself time. And that's obviously the most valuable thing that we have. So it is an area where it's almost like, if we go back to our conversation about being bold and taking risk and danger, I think for men, that can be an area where they can practice that, where when you're asking for help, you feel like that's hard for men to do. And so by exercising this in a way, you're practicing and exercising your ability to engage in challenging, tough conversations that men need to have. Because we talk about hiding. If a man is hiding, you're not showing up. Especially, like, women can feel this. When you're not showing up as a man, you're hiding. And just because you make a man is successful in career does not mean this conversation does not apply to you. I think men can use money as this sort of, I'm above that, I'm beyond that. But can you have the difficult conversations with your partner? Can you handle conflict in a way that leads to greater intimacy? Can you show up in a grounded way for your partner or just to women if you're single, where you are moving forward and you're growing stronger from this whole experience?
Okay, let's bring the heavy for a second. So Andrew and I were talking before we went on that we both lost our fathers. Your father passed
last year.
Fairly recently. And so I tell my viewers on pretty much every single video that I make towards the end that it's never too late and you're never too old to make a change in your life or start something new. However, sometimes it is too late. So once, at least for me, once we as an older demographic reach a certain age, we start to realize that we've lived more time than what we have left. It would be nice to know that 92 is the year. I mean, that's when we're going to end, right? But we don't know. And so I think if we sit in indecision, going back to our conversation earlier,
right.
We're wasting time and not making forward momentum in our daily lives is wasting time. Because we don't know what we have left. And you had mentioned that you lost a friend recently too, or before your father. And so can you expand a little bit on maximizing the amount of time that we have left? Not to bring this down too much, but this is as we get older, it's something that comes up and we think about it. And what are we doing with the time we have left? And what should we be doing with the time we have left? What can we do to maximize our lives going forward?
Right. This is a very powerful conversation, and I think it's one that's not always had. However, it has the power to really move a man into action and to be more fearless in his life. So my dad did pass away last year. He was in his 70s, and so it's a pretty, I guess, your average life expectancy. Although to me it was unexpected. We thought we had more time. But 2 weeks prior to my dad, also one of my close friends passed away in a helicopter crash, and he was in his early 30s, and so it was one of the toughest years of my life. Like last year was such a challenge. So much growth has come from it, and I'm still learning to comprehend the situation. However, one of the things and questions that I really wrestled with was when we look at my dad, it was sort of this average life expectancy in his 70s. And so we think, okay, I would think, all right, well, so then I have, X amount of years. That makes sense. Okay, so I have more decades ahead of me. Got it. But then when you have my friend who passed away unexpectedly, who was in his early 30s, it makes you think, oh, well, wait a minute. Maybe I don't have those extra years. Maybe I'm not guaranteed to even live an average life expectancy. Maybe I'm not.
We don't know. Like, we honestly, it could be today, tomorrow, and that's the crazy part.
That is the crazy part. And so it really, that disparity for me, that the guaranteed average life expectancy is not guaranteed, and random accidents and random things can happen. I've even had a friend who had cancer, and he didn't pass away, but we thought we were prepared for something like that, and he was in his early 30s. And so it's not necessarily that, like, if a guy's in his 20s or in his 30s or in his 40s and his 50s, it's not that, okay, like, I have that extra time, like, that's my cushion. The cushion isn't there. There is no cushion. And it almost feels like the rug has been swept under us, and we're like, whoa, wait a minute. And so what it does for me, and what I can pull from that, is there's just no time to waste with things that are robbing me of my time and energy. And so when I'm not advancing or taking action towards the things that matter to me, so I'm not going to tell you exactly what you should do or shouldn't do. However, the things that you would find meaningful, whatever that might be, or those bucket list items that would make you come alive, those things that you really want to experience in your life, I feel that those are what we should be waking up for. Those are the things we should be leaning towards every single day, and pursuing mastery in our lives as much as possible, with who we are as men, our path, our purpose, having great social relationships, and enjoying life with like-minded men and women, where we're not just focused all on, for me at least, just chasing money or chasing career success, but learning to enjoy the moments we do have with friends, with family, and also pursuing the best relationship we can. I feel there's so much joy and happiness and fulfillment within an intimate relationship, and really showing up in our relationships, because you really don't feel how much, I mean, you do, I'm sure we all do, but I'll speak from my experience, you don't feel it so much, that person, until that person's gone. And when they're gone forever, someone has passed, you really feel that loss. You really feel what it was like with that person, or even in a divorce or a breakup situation. And it's like, man, if I only would have just, when we were together, which was one of my regrets with my dad, is when he was getting sick, I didn't feel that I was showing up, because I didn't feel like I was showing up to the level that I know I could have emotionally. I knew there was some really good conversations we could have had about his childhood, learning more about him, about what he was like, just learning what it was like before he had met my mother and his life. And, it's just like a blank question that I get, loose answers from relatives. But,
and it sucks that it takes a tragedy to give yourself a little bit of a reset and go, that was very heavy. I wish I would have. I should have. Why didn't I do X, Y, Z? And it is a shame that it takes a tragedy to kind of, solidify some things and really make certain subjects, I guess, sort of hit home. But I'm glad you touched on that. There isn't really, do this A, B, C, but it's show up every day. Mm-hmm. If you have goals, keep your forward momentum, because you're not guaranteed the next 25 or 30 years. I mean, I would tell guys, you're 42 years old. You've got half your life left to do whatever you want with. And I've said that a bunch of times, right? And then half your life leading up to this point, you were a kid and you had to do what you were told. But now, theoretically, you have half your life left to do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. hopefully you're in a position where you can do whatever you want, but you're not always guaranteed that next half of your life. And so I wanted to bring that up here, not to be morbid, but the older we get, I'm 51, the older we get, we start to realize I've lived more than what I've got left. So I'm done wasting my time, right? And so it's keep moving forward, one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely, and I think that's the beauty of I feel that there is beauty and there is positive energy in death, which is difficult to see. However, what it does is it makes your present experience, the present moment, it makes it much more enjoyable, knowing that like it's not just another day. It's like, oh, another day just went by, but like this is the day. This is the day of my life. This is where I'm at. And to show up fully, to not be stuck in your head, just living in your head, living in the past even, or living in the future. Like there's some sort of future success that you're driving towards and you're actually living there, but rather enjoying this present moment, enjoying the people you're around, enjoying the process of growth, enjoying the process of overcoming challenges. And you could almost use the death as almost a superpower, because you can show up more fearlessly in life knowing that you don't know when that time might come. So you think about these little issues that might prevent you from taking action, and then it's just like it doesn't really matter as much. Like it's like, does this really matter? What this person's opinion or what this person said, or if you embarrass yourself, or if it doesn't show up right, or if you get laughed at. Well, anyone of success or respectful will never laugh at you. It's only people who aren't taking action who laugh at you, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
and I'm not necessarily suggesting that you go out and be irresponsible.
Right.
Because I could die tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to go gamble, whatever. Having forward progress every single day is success, which it's a great way to think of it.
There's probably for many of us, especially as you're older, where you can think of gaps or stages in your life where you're like, well, it's almost like this hazy dream where you're like, my 20s, or if
my 20s.
If you're older, your 30s. It's like, or this, maybe do you remember what it was like between 26 and 29, or 32 and 35, or 41 and 46? Like there's these gaps where like, I can't even really remember what I was doing, or it just feels like this distant, hazy thing. And why is that the case? Were we showing up? Were like, if there's anything getting out of this segment here, and I hope that the whole value of this interview is to wake up and pursue the life that you would like. Not necessarily to pursue all this money or anything, but just to show up in life, to not miss life. I don't judge a man by his net worth, but I'll judge a man by the level of aliveness that he possesses in his day-to-day life, because that is what you're getting from that person. That's what you see. That will tell you what's going on internally. How he feels inside is a reflection of his level of presence and aliveness on the outside. And I think when we talk and look at death, for me at least, it brings me back to life, even though it would seem counter that it would. I think at first, on a surface layer, death would seem like it's a dark thing that is negative. However, it can help you enjoy life, because like Benjamin Franklin's quote, many men die at 25 and they're not buried until 75. And so if we can wake up, just for me, one person who's watching this, to be like, whoa, that actually makes sense. I'm going to pursue these things I want in my life. I'm going to show up with more energy and more aliveness. I'm going to have more fun. I'm going to have greater relationships and more success in my just in my general life, and just pursue life, pursue mastery of the things that are important to you. I find that you would just have more aliveness, and you would be someone that other people would be happy to meet and have in their lives, and you just wouldn't miss it. And I think too many men, you just look around as soon as you're done watching this, just look around and just look at people, and you'll find that they're glued to their phones and they're missing it. And if we're missing it, it's just going to be another segment of our life that is just this hazy period of life that we can hardly remember. And
Just time wasted. Just time wasted. Don't waste time.
Don't waste time. How sad and upset would you be if your time did come and that, like, let's say you had 3 more months or so, like many people went to the doctors for a routine visit or for something they thought was minor. Oh, I had this little thing going on, and then they run some tests, and then the doctor takes extra time, comes back and reveals some information that is actually a life-changing doctor's visit. There's many people who just went for a routine visit, and then they didn't know that they were going to hear some news that would fundamentally end their life or significantly change or reduce the quality of their life. And you could say, like, we're all just a doctor's visit away from news such as that, because that's what has happened for so many people.
Yeah.
And how would you feel if that happened and you had not lived fully in the last several years, and you were just feeling like you were just beating yourself up, or you just were living in your head, or you're just even just reading books all the time, like stuck in trying to learn
Yeah.
and not engaging. Go ahead.
And it would suck that it would take something like that to like flip a switch and go, man, I'm going to start XYZ, or I wish I would have, I should have. It would be a shame to have that be your wake-up call. So hopefully this is a wake-up call. And, making forward progress every single day. All right, guys, I really hope you got some value out of this. Andrew, where can people find out more about you and what you're up to?
Thank you. If you found some value in what I have been sharing and you'd like to learn more, I've written several books. Obviously, we talked about the Dating Playbook for Men, which is my most recent book. I've written several other books, one about breakups. I found that there were very few books for men about breakups when I had gone through one, and after going through my breakup experience, I decided to write a book that was from a man's perspective to just help men get through what could be one of the most challenging experiences in their life. I've also
because breakup.
Yeah.
I listened to the audiobook, and it was like, it seems like there's so many books on breakups, but they're all from the women's perspective or written by a woman. So yours is really unique in the fact that it's for men, written by a man. So sorry about that. I just wanted to throw that in there because that's important.
Yes. Also, to learn more about my Project Grounded Man program for men, you can go to kfmlive.com, and there's just a short presentation to learn more about my program, and I could just give more value about what the program is, what it means to be a grounded man, what are some of the challenges that men are experiencing today, and how they can overcome them. And then I also share what it would look like if you wanted to work with me or not. There's no cost to the presentation, of course, so kfmlive.com. And but I really appreciate you coming all the way out here and reaching out. And I was like, of course, like I enjoy having these conversations. They're important conversations that I feel men should be having, not just through a YouTube or a podcast, but just in their own lives with their friends. I think it's very, we're speaking things that are important but not openly addressed in day-to-day conversation. So thank you for coming out here and spending time with me and wanting to open up this conversation.
Yeah, and again, guys, this is not in any way a sponsored promotion or anything like that. Andrew's not paying me to be here to promote what he's up to, but I guess for me, it's just trying to add additional value to this channel instead of talking about shoes and jackets all the time, right? It's like we can talk about other things, and I would like to talk about stuff like this in the future. If you're into this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me some comments down below and let me know what value you got out of this, or if anything resonated with you. I would really, really love to hear from you. And guys, we'll see you very soon in the next video. Guys, take care.
Take care.